Welcome, welcome. This is going to be my second video. The last one, it was quite entertaining with Matthew, my 8-year-old. This one is going to be a little bit more educational. This is something that I think that is going to be happening more and more frequently, and I feel like a lot more buyers need to be educated on this, especially if you're going into more of an investment standpoint, or if you are buying and trying to get a really fantastic deal on a property. There's some really important things to really pay attention to, especially if you're searching on the MLS, or if you see a price that is so good and then you go ahead and you reach out to your agent and you say, hey, property is fantastic, let's go see it, it's available to my price range. And then the agent looks at it and says, sorry, Lacey, it's a short sale. Well, have you ever heard of a short sale? Does anyone know what a short sale is? Well, a short sale is literally not how it sounds, unfortunately. So I'm going to give you 10 little pieces. Oh, actually, I take it back. I'm going to give you 8 little pieces or nuggets that you should know about a short sale and what to look out for. So I wrote down a couple different thought processes. So one of the things that you want to know is, what is a short sale? Okay, so that's number one. A short sale is anything but, like I mentioned. What it is when a seller is selling their property and they cannot sell the property to basically pay off the loan, pay all the excise tax, do any of that, and they don't want to go into foreclosure. So it's a way for them to avoid foreclosure by doing a short sale. So the loan that's going to get paid off is short of the amount that the bank would accept for that payoff. So to give an example, I had a short sale that I negotiated with the lender last year, and we're going to go back into that here in just a second. The maximum amount that the home could be sold for based on market trends, because we had just had that interest rate increase. It was a crazy last year, and I'm sure that this is going to be coming up again. But the most that the buyers would afford to this house is about $600,000. In order for him to pay off all of the debt, all of the amount that he was behind or in arrears, the amount for excise tax, which is a county tax, any real estate commissions, any of that, the most that he needed, about $650,000. That's what he needed, plain and simple. But because we could only sell the property for about $600,000, we had to take that to the bank so that way they would be able to basically short the amount that's owed, so that way he could go ahead and close on that sale and avoid a foreclosure. Now, that actually worked out really well for us, and that kind of goes into the next segment of the process of a short sale. So now that you know a little bit about what it is, again, it is not short in the process. This can literally take from 90 days all the way to a year and a half at most sometimes. It really depends on the amount of money that the bank is going to be taking a loss at. It really depends. So there's a process that you go through. So initially, you have to contact your lender or your servicer. There's plenty of servicers that are out there. Examples would be like PennyMac, Mr. Cooper, Lakeview Servicing. There's lots of different servicers. They're the ones that handle the financial payment. So you reach out to them, you initiate that process and say, I want to do a short sale. I do not want to go into foreclosure. So they will ask a series of questions. They will get the financial statements. They will work with the borrower to make sure if they are eligible for a short sale, that they will help and guide them. My experience, again, was really smooth and relatively easy. They were very helpful. So after you go through the process of getting all of the documentation sent over to the lender, at that point, they will go ahead and they will basically assign an attorney. They still have to assign one just in case it does go into a foreclosure. So there's an attorney assigned, but everyone is aware that they're working on a short sale. What will happen from there is the property is listed. If you're working with an agent, they will be hopefully in communication with that servicer after the borrower has given permission for their agent to be in contact. That's very important. If you are not listed as a contact, they absolutely will not talk to you. So you have to make sure you educate your clients, and vice versa. If you are a client, you need to educate your agent that you will get, the signatures that are needed in order for the agent to have that conversation with the lender servicer. So now at this point, the home is listed for sale. It's great for communication, check-ins. Once you get an offer on the property, then you're going to submit that to your contact. So whoever that servicer's loan officer is, you're going to go ahead and you're going to send it on over. They have to go ahead and approve the loan. They have to approve that buyer to make sure that it's a solid buyer. In our situation, they had to do 20% down. That was the requirement in order for the short sale to be approved by this buyer. And fortunately, it worked out well. That's exactly what was offered. So it was really, it was a very easy situation. But it's then going to happen when you are normally doing a loan, the buyer is going to have an appraiser. But because of the fact that the lender is taking a short, they are also going to have their appraisal. So once you go under contract, the lender goes ahead and orders their bank approval or their bank lender to go ahead and do an appraisal. Your buyer for the property, they may already be in the works for the appraisal. And this is a whole other segment, but this is just the piece that works. So they go ahead and they will get the appraisal, look at the appraisal, and let's say everything works out very smoothly, all parties agree, everything looks good. Then it goes ahead and processes into a normal sale. Everyone's deed of trust is signed, and then you move on. Now, granted, the settlement sheet is going to show the interest that's owed. It's going to show the settlement, difference for the seller to the buyer, just the normal process of real estate. But that's really important to know that piece of it. Now, how this impacts the homeowner. Now, this is something that, again, can really help homeowners avoid foreclosure and have their credit completely decimated from that foreclosure. Now, again, you will have to talk to your lender. You'll have to go ahead and discuss how that's going to impact you. I'm just giving the general broad version of what a short sale is versus the foreclosure record. But it is really, you're going to have to discuss that with the lender or credit bureau agency to figure out the exact numbers of how that's going to impact. The biggest tip for a buyer that I can say, as I mentioned earlier, a buyer looks and they're so excited. This is that appraisal piece that I wanted to go into. In a normal sale, if you have an appraisal that's done and your appraisal comes in at, let's say, the purchase price, you're at $600,000 and your appraisal comes in at $650,000. In a normal purchase and sale, that is fantastic. That is instant equity. The seller will not know because usually, and it would be surprising to me if someone does tell the seller what it comes back at. But usually they'll just say it came in at value is what the seller hears. The buyer who's paid for the appraisal, they'll know what the value is specifically. So there's a huge advantage for them. Now, and the purchase price doesn't change. Whatever the contract price was, that stays. Now, here's the thing. In a short sale, it's a little bit different because the bank is going to do their opinion and then the lender for them is also going to go ahead and do it. Now, if the bank approval comes in at, let's say, $650,000 and you're at a $600,000 contract, the bank is going to want to raise that to $650,000 for the settlement. Now, it'll be the job of the agent or an attorney or whoever's hired to facilitate the sale to negotiate that down back to where the purchase price contract can be. But in a short sale, it can be amended to the higher value. So that's really important for you to know and for your agent to know because that will make a huge difference. I've actually had a case years ago, my first short sale back in 2017, and I was the buyer side. We had the appraisal, that exact situation came up. The value came back higher and we had to negotiate it down. Unfortunately, they wouldn't negotiate it down where we wanted it to be. We went ahead and we walked. We did retain the earnest money, but that is also really important for you to know. So again, if you see a property that seems too good to be true and you're like, okay, I can afford this, and you know the market values are $500,000, $600,000, you're saying $350,000, it warrants more questions. So do ask your agent, make sure that you understand that. And the other thing is too, I mentioned that it can take between 90 days to a year and a half So just be prepared that if you do see a short sale, that it could take that long. So really just ask your agent if they can find out more information before you decide to make an offer and move in that direction. Okay, I guess I did share some success stories with you. The first one was my 650. Everything worked out beautifully with it. It closed. We were so happy with that. And then I guess the other one wasn't a success story, but at the same time, they retained their earnest money. So that was a huge success. Make sure you're working with your professionals. Make sure that if you need to work with an attorney that's negotiating on your behalf, do so. Make sure you communicate with your agents. Make sure you communicate with your servicers. You can make this process as easy as possible for the homeowner because they're going through some stress and we want to be able to alleviate that. And as far as the buyer is concerned, they are getting a fantastic deal, maybe not at market value, but they're excited because they're buying their first home or multiple homes. So it's really making sure that we are sticking true to our fiduciary responsibilities. Okay, with that being said, have a wonderful evening.